Welcome to the Eureka Chamber Chatter Podcast. The Eureka Chamber of Commerce represents a partnership of business and professional people. When you join the chamber, you gain a new business partner, as well as opportunities to meet potential clients, expand contacts, increase management expertise, and become involved in issues that affect your business and community. This podcast has been created to further the conversation between all of the businesses, first responders, government leaders, and other notable guests with the residents and potential residents and business owners of the city of Eureka. Now, from the Realty Executives Premier Studio in Eureka, Missouri, it's the Eureka Chamber Chatter Podcast. All right, this Chamber Chatter Podcast is with Rockwood Eyecare. Dr. Peter Jacques is a doctor that's been around a while, but brand new owner of this location. Rockwood Eyecare is whereabouts?
It's just right up the road. It's actually right in the Cherry Hills Square, 2 doors down from the Grover Post Office, if you know where that is. So newly renovated space, 2,500 square feet. And we do everything. We do facilitate all eye care needs.
I think this is great because, Eureka's blowing up with more, people moving out here. Wildwood has got a lot of new development going on. You got new families moving in all the time. So hopefully we can get them connected with you for their eye care.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the scope of your business. Who's going to come see you?
Anybody and everybody. We do patients as young as 6 months old.
It is amazing when you see a really small child with glasses. It's like, how do you know? I guess that's what you do.
That is what I do. Yeah. That was actually one of the neatest skills that we learned when we were in school, was actually how can you figure out an eyeglass prescription in someone who can't tell you what's better, one or two. And those skills took a long time to learn and a long time to perfect. And
they're priceless.
And they're priceless,
Yeah.
Exactly. And a lot of kids, actually, parents think that the pediatrician maybe gave them a once-over.
Sure.
And that's true. A lot of them do a nice screening. But American Optometric Association actually recommends the first eye exam happen between 6 and 12 months. They even have an entire national program that we're a part of called Infancy. And believe it or not, that eye exam is actually no cost to the parent. So between 6 and 12 months, totally free. And we look for any big problems that might turn into even bigger problems later down the road.
Some kids don't even get their first haircut in the first year.
That's exactly.
And you're already
right.
doing the eye care.
Yep.
So when you have a new client come in, or a new patient, I guess you'd call it, a new family, what's your first deal? Just an eye test?
Mm-hmm. Yep. So we do routine eye care. Anybody who's got a set of eyes probably needs them checked. So.
I know it's funny to say, but it is true. I mean, people don't really think about it because it can change over time at a really slow pace too, right?
That's right. Yeah. And a lot of people think just because they don't wear glasses, maybe they don't need an eye exam, but that's not true. We're only looking at glasses as one small part of the exam. We look at the eye health, and actually we can tell a lot about the health of the body from the health of the eyes.
Well, that's profound to say that. What do you find out from what you see in people's eyes?
Sure. Well, the back of the eye, specifically the retina, is the only place in the whole body where there's living blood vessels and also nervous system tissue that's exposed. So anything that can affect the brain can affect the eyes, and anything that affects the circulatory system, specifically like diabetes or high blood pressure,
Sure.
can actually be detected in a routine eye exam. We can see those blood vessels and see them, leak or bleed or have problems. And sometimes they aren't even affecting your vision, but they're affecting your eyes, and it's something that could be a sign of worse to come.
Wow, that is amazing. I never knew that. I've recently learned in the last few years that whatever you consume as far as food or beverages, that also affects everything. There, periodontal disease and things like that. That is just amazing that the eyes are the windows to the whole body, not just the soul.
Windows to the soul, windows to the health.
What made you pick this field?
Everything we've already been talking about.
Really?
Eyes are fascinating.
Yeah.
You can't go to a Thanksgiving dinner anymore, without the eyes coming up. Everybody's got a question. Everyone's got something that they're concerned about, and maybe they're feeling a little bit hesitant to bring it up. But the great thing about what I do is I love explaining things to people. And the more I learned about the eyes, the more I wanted to engage with that.
That is amazing. Where'd you go to school?
Right here in town, University of Missouri, St. Louis College of Optometry.
Wow. And would you say the eyes is more of a difficult line of medicine?
Absolutely, yeah. They're so complex because they've got so many unique diseases and dysfunctions that affect just the eyes, but also their connection and their response to things that happen in the rest of the body make them even more complicated. So when you go to school and you learn about this, you have to know all about diseases that affect the general health, and then apply that to the eyes on top of that. So it's a world of infinite complexity, and I'm always learning things every day.
I bet. Well, especially with technology changing too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's different from just the card on the wall with the letters.
Yes.
I mean, the one, is one better or two better? That's part of an exam. But like, how are you seeing technology change?
Well, one of the big things that we've noticed in the last 5-10 years is this new emergence of retinal imaging technology. It used to be that the only way to see beyond certain parts of the back of the eye were to put a dilation drop in. Folks are familiar with the eye drops that the doctor puts in and makes their pupil really big. But now we can actually take one snapshot without that drop and see a lot of the things that those drops would show us. It doesn't make them obsolete, and we still use them.
Sure.
But it's quite impressive that you can show somebody in one picture the entire back of the eye, whereas that was never something that you could do before.
It is fascinating. I mean, when anybody that's been in health class and they could be a plumber and gone to health class and see how the images of what you see is reversed and how the brain consumes that information and data. Is Elon Musk nuts? Can we hook into the hard drive no, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
He's thinking some pretty futuristic stuff though.
Yeah, you need big people with big thoughts to move that kind of thing forward. I'm not one of them, but I'm glad that they do it.
But you're willing to read about it, right?
That's right.
Talk to me about the technology of contacts, because I remember as a kid, my mom, she had one contact, but she had to wear glasses in addition. This is back in the 80s, before your time. But tell me about the technology of contacts, because it seems like you can have bifocal. Just tell me about the technology of the change.
Yeah, so a lot of folks are familiar with maybe wearing reading glasses over their contact lenses, or they'll have something called monovision, where one eye's basically their distance and one eye's their near.
Right.
That works for some folks. But what a lot of people haven't heard of is multifocal contact lenses, which give you both distance and near with both eyes.
How in the world?
It's quite amazing, and one of the big benefits is you have good depth perception with that. With monovision, where one eye is primarily for the distance, sometimes it's hard to see when someone's holding their hand out for you to shake it, although we aren't doing that a lot anymore.
Fist bumps.
Exactly.
I'm good with that.
How close or how far something is relative to them. Or maybe if they play pickleball or a game that requires a ball coming at them, that could be challenging with the multifocal contact lenses, or with the monovision rather. With multifocal, that all goes away. It's basically like having all your vision all the time, wherever you need it.
And does this apply to your eye the same way a regular contact lens does?
Yeah,
like
sure
day
does.
in and day out, or do you wear them for days at a time? I mean, is that technology changing too?
Both. You kind of have two choices when it comes to modality. You can either have one that you take out at nighttime, soak in solution, and it's good for about 30 days to rinse and repeat. But what's becoming more common now is a daily disposable contact lens. That's one where you would wear it for the day, whenever you need it, and then you take it out and actually just discard it at nighttime.
Really?
And and it's great because from a comfort standpoint, you can't beat it. It's a fresh lens every day. It's really good for people with dry eye, and they have daily disposable multifocal contact lenses. That's a mouthful.
Who knew? I mean, they must have brought the cost down on those so much.
They have,
to be able to do that every day.
Yeah, and they get a lot more affordable now, than they used to be. Whenever new technology comes out, it's expensive, and then the price comes down as competition enters the market. So there's all sorts of options for you now.
Just technology about it. I mean, from an Apple Watch to whatever phone people carry, it is just crazy. Are there apps that people do eye test? I mean, there's IQ tests. There's all kinds of things. Is there anything fun that you enjoy, like on your phone? Knowing, I mean, because. Okay, when I was, again, I'm going to go back to my childhood. When we sit really close to the TV, Mom would always say, get away from that TV. We'd back up. Now, is there damage being done by these VR goggles and, the virtual reality stuff? Or is it completely safe?
Well, it's funny that you bring it up, because there's actually a whole new emerging field of studies on this topic exactly. How is digital eye strain or digital devices or even near work affecting our vision for the worse? And one of the things that they've been able to definitively figure out is that when you look at a screen, especially as a kid, somewhere 9, 10, 12 years old, then your eye will actually continue to grow in ways that it's not supposed to, which makes you more nearsighted. In other words, it makes it harder to see things far away. And a lot of parents are kind of familiar with this. They say, well, I take my kid to the eye doctor. Their prescriptions keep going up. What's the deal? Is it the computer? Is it the phone? And what the studies are showing us is it actually is some of the near work and also the lack of outdoor time that may be contributing to this problem.
I can't imagine what the VR goggles are doing.
Yeah. It's kind of exacerbating it even more. So
wow.
Just recently, in fact, within the matter of the last year, there's a new, we talked about the daily disposable lenses. There's a new daily disposable contact lens for children on the market, specifically designed to slow the progression of the prescription. And we're one of the few offices that actually carry that.
And because you follow people's eyes for disease or changes or anything, that's what you're doing. Mm-hmm. How often should somebody see an eye doctor?
We recommend about every year.
Okay, just once a year?
Yep, if you're over 40.
Okay.
Kids, you can probably do about every 2 years, but most insurance plans will cover a routine exam every year.
Okay, let's talk about the kids here again, because anymore now you can see an infant in their car seat with a screen.
Yeah.
I mean, they know how to get to YouTube. They know how to get their favorite games or whatever. It just seems so weird for me. Now, you seem, how old a guy are you about?
I'm 33.
Okay, so you're young. I mean, but you've seen the change of living with no screens to here, everybody's got one.
Oh, yeah. My generation is a generation of screens. We were the first ones to really be exposed to it in that way. And,
right.
Now it's that much worse. You got kids, they spend all day at school on the screens, doing the, and then they come home at night and they're doing homework on a screen. Then they're, recreation, playing video games on the screen, so it's kind of astounding. It's, 12, 14, 16 hours a day at 9 years old on a screen. Just wasn't the way we were designed to be.
Absolutely. Matter of fact, I was just at lunch with some friends the other day and I said, oh, do you ever check your screen time data? And he goes, no, where's that? And of course it's real easy to get to. And I showed it to him, and he was shocked. I mean, I showed him mine, and I was down 14% from last week. Yeah. But I know it's not good, and I know it can't be good for relationships because these things are always in our hands, as I've got it in my hand. But that is definitely doing something. Somebody just sent me a graph on the way people tilt their head to look at their screen. And it shows how much poundage you're adding, like to the tune of 60 pounds extra on the vertebrae of your neck, which is going to affect everything, your brain, your vision, everything.
Absolutely. Yeah. And especially...
You have job security is what I'm saying. That's not nice. That's not nice.
Yeah. Digital eye strain is a huge problem. People coming home at the end of the day, their eyes are tired, fatigued, they're dry, they're tearing up.
Yeah.
And, there's lots of things that can help with that, that we look for in the eye exams, and there's special glasses that you can wear.
I just had some, somebody just gave me some of those, the blue blocker, whatever, I don't know what they're called, but there's for screen time, but they're not adjusted. I wear cheaters. I wear 1.75, off the counter or over the counter, and those glasses don't have that film or whatever it is. But do those help for those people that wear them?
They certainly can.
Okay.
Yeah. There's a couple kind of categories that things fall into. And primarily the ones that we recommend are what are called anti-fatigue lenses. And those do two things. One is, even in a kid, someone who doesn't need reading glasses as you do, it'll give them a little bit of a power boost. And what that does is it helps relax the muscle inside the eye that has to contract in order to focus on something up close.
Okay.
So instead of holding a gallon of milk, it's like holding a carton of milk. You can do it for a lot longer because you don't have to sustain the same amount of demand on the muscle.
That's a great analogy.
The other thing is that it puts an anti-reflective coating on there. And there's several different flavors of that. And the one that's become more popular now is the blue blocking lenses, as you're referring to.
Okay.
And what that does is two things. One is it cuts down some of the blue wavelengths that might disrupt your sleep a little bit and maybe cause a little bit of problem there. And then also it cuts down on the glare from the screen. All of the bright lights that are coming off the screen cause a little bit of fatigue because once they hit the eye, it's causing problems there.
Right.
That's the other part of it that really tends to help too.
Man.
So even someone who doesn't have a glasses prescription sometimes benefits from that just from all the screen time they've had.
And again, people are on their screens all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just baffling. I mean, there's so many questions I have, and I'm going to try to get to as many as we can.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you do have an eye emergency, for those listening, if you have an eye emergency, I always think, if I have a dental emergency, can I always get to my dentist? I mean, you can't really go to an ER. What's the situation for an emergency eye situation.
Yeah, and this comes up all the time, every day. We'll actually get a call from an urgent care center or a patient who went to the emergency room and they said, I went there, I spent X number of hours and X number of dollars, and they just told me to call you.
Well, they got paid.
Yeah. So I say, a lot of times the first phone call you should make is to a primary care optometrist, and our phone number is actually just on all the time. And if somebody doesn't answer, it goes to a voicemail, which then gets checked by me.
Okay.
And the reason we set it up that way is because we realized that there just wasn't a lot of knowledge out there that you could call your eye doctor for an emergency visit.
Right.
Remember when we had the 12 feet of snow the other day?
Yeah, it felt like it.
I got a phone call from a fellow who said, my eye's just really bothering me. It really hurts. And whenever somebody calls with a complaint of eye pain, it's like all hands on deck.
Sure.
You can have a really serious problem that can cause blindness if that's not addressed quickly. So
my.
I got my snowshoes on and trudged out there to the office and saw him. And I'm glad I did, because he ended up having something that was really serious that would have been even worse had it been not left unchecked. So one of the things that I wanted to do when I started this practice was offer urgent eye care services to folks. And
this is huge.
It's covered by insurance, the same medical insurance that you'd go to your primary care doctor for a routine visit for. We can bill through that.
It's really, it's actually putting you out more than anything.
Right.
But
yeah.
That's kind of doctor you are, it sounds like.
It's the important thing to do, for sure. I saw some places that I had worked at that didn't have the same setup, and I just would see situations that I felt like we could really do something about. And by the time I got my 5th or 6th or 10th phone call from, an urgent care center or a patient who'd been to an emergency room, I said, they aren't equipped to handle a lot of these things. Their equipment is not designed for the eye in the same way that ours is.
Yeah.
So as long as you have the equipment and the expertise, we can handle taking something out of your eye. We can handle if it seems like you're having an emergency, like flashes of light or floaters. Any of those sorts of things, the staff is trained to say, okay, let's get you in now. We don't care how busy we are. We're going to see you immediately, because that's serious enough.
And nobody wants to lose their eyes.
Yeah, everybody's very worried about their eyes, and they should be. But at the end of the day, luckily, not everything turns out to be as serious as it may have seemed. And that's part of my job, too, is to give people good news, not just bad.
Well, we go in a lot of different directions on this podcast. I don't know if you've ever heard any of the examples that we've done of previous podcasts, but dude, I think you've got a Shark Tank direction to go here. I mean, this is really something, because most urgent cares or ERs really have, like you said, I'm sure they can get some help, but to have an eye specialist, that's amazing.
Yeah, I've just seen some kind of horror stories of things that developed from either things that weren't handled maybe as they should have, or didn't get handled soon enough in the way that they should have, misdiagnosis or mistreatment. And, not to say that it happens all the time, but a lot of the folks at the urgent care centers, like we kind of alluded to, the eyes are very complex and they may not be specially trained in those problems.
Sure.
And the big one I would say is probably foreign body removal. When you get something in your eye and it's stuck in there and you tried to get it out by every kind of means.
Rubbing it. Yeah. It just happened about a week ago. We heat with firewood, right? So, I'm always got splinters in my fingers and stuff. Something got in my eye. I couldn't figure it out. My wife is, a foot shorter than I am. So I've got to bend down and she's flushing it out with eye drops. And it did come out, thank goodness. It may have been an eyelash. I don't know. But she said we need to go and stock up on the eye drops. So let's just talk about what people should carry in their medicine cabinet concerning their eyes in an event they have something in it they can't get out, and they can't get to you quite quick enough. Is the stuff you buy off the shelf at the drugstore good?
Sometimes yes, sometimes no.
Contact solution, or
when you go to the eye drop aisle, there's like 5,000 different products. It's really hard to even know where to start.
I saw them all the other day.
And in fact, I actually had a case the other day. It was an individual who had gotten something in their eye similar to what you were talking about. And they were using a lubricating eye drop, something over the counter, and basically putting it in their eye, kind of trying to flush it out. And as it turns out, it wasn't the thing that they got in their eye that ended up causing the problem. It was the eye drop that they were putting on, because it contained a preservative that was particularly toxic in high doses.
I'm glad we're talking.
So you got to be a little bit careful about what you grab and the amount that you put on your eye.
In an emergency situation, if you're at home and it's not like, a 2x4 in your eye.
Yeah.
I've heard that in the Bible. Is straight water the best?
Water is good.
Okay.
Yeah, we say copious irrigation with water is something great. Everyone's got the water at home, which is
Sure.
easy. Second best thing is probably a bottle of what they call eye wash, which is basically a preserved saline solution. And that one is pH balanced for the tear film and a little bit better to go in the eye.
Gotcha.
And then if you can't get to one of those, ideally you can get to an eye doctor pretty quickly, and then we can take it from there.
Well, this is exciting. Rockwood Eyecare is the name of the business on Manchester Road. You're all hooked into insurances. Let's just talk about that for people that carry their health insurance, eye vision insurance.
Yeah.
How's your company working with them?
So this gets really confusing really fast for people. They say, well, I don't have vision insurance, so I don't know if I can come and see you. But actually, we take all medical plans as well. Not every optometry office works this way, but one of the first things we'll ask you for is, do you have your vision card and do you have your insurance card for your medical insurance? And we do that because sometimes folks will come in and they'll think that their problem is glasses, but it turns out to be something more medical in nature, and we need to be able to address it in other special ways that maybe their routine wouldn't cover. Or they'll come in for a routine exam and something will come up and we'll say, hey, I don't know if you knew you had dry eye syndrome, from staring at your screens, we can treat you for that. We can bring you back for another visit to address that problem, and that can be a medical insurance covered event.
Oh, wow. So that's good news.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because I think it's a la carte. Vision and dental kind of go together in a lot of policies, right?
A lot of times, yeah.
Yeah.
And then the vision plans are really good for what we call material benefits. So discounts on contact lenses or glasses kind of help you out a little bit, make that more affordable. But even straight Medicare, we take Medicare, Medicaid, Aetna, United Healthcare, all the big ones, and then also VSP, iMed, Spectera are some of the bigger vision plans, and we take all of them. Being a new business, we try to cater to as many needs as we can and take as many plans as we can to get new patients in the door. So,
well, the business is new, but you are not to this business.
That's right.
Yeah, that 13 years. Yeah. That's pretty cool. And your wife is also in the field with you?
So my wife actually helps run the business, and she's an occupational therapist.
Wonderful.
So one of the things that she specializes actually is in eye dysfunction, and folks who've had a stroke or a traumatic brain injury, maybe their eye will turn or they'll have double vision. And she does a really nice job with different therapies and different neuro rehab that can be done in order to help with that problem.
Out of your office or someplace else?
So she actually fills in a little bit at different hospitals around the area.
Oh, that's nice.
And actually that's how I kind of got my foot into the door into this specialty. And I actually go into the different SSM hospitals now myself and do inpatient services on folks who've had those problems.
Wow.
And,
boy, you were really cutting a new path in this business, aren't you?
Yeah, that one's one of my real passions, because there's, to my knowledge, not a lot of folks in the greater area that work on adult double vision or eye turns and those sorts of things. And we're certainly unique in that I'm the only doctor going into the SSM hospital system to service those patients.
That's great. So when it comes to older people and cataracts and things like that, how do you work with them? I bring that up because my father's getting ready. He's on the East Coast, getting ready to go through cataract surgery.
Yeah,
he had no idea. And another buddy of mine actually just went through it, cataract surgery, changed his life.
Yeah,
he's like, I'm seeing grain in wood. I mean, it is that big of a deal.
Yeah, it's a big deal. It's very life-changing. And for a lot of reasons, of which make a lot of sense, folks kind of tend to want to push it off a little bit till it gets real bad.
My hands in the air.
It's surgery on your eye. It doesn't get a little more intense than that.
Right.
But when it comes to cataracts, a lot of times your optometrist is the first one to notice things. And what we'll do is we'll monitor it and we'll say, let's see how it's affecting your vision. Tell me about your nighttime driving. Are you getting a lot of glare? Have you avoided driving at night? Maybe you didn't, feel comfortable or safe or something like that. If it's affecting your quality of life or your quality of vision, then it's usually time to do something about it. And I like to say everybody's going to need cataract surgery as long as we live long enough.
Right.
As long as we're blessed to live long enough. Maybe 5% of folks won't have surgery by the time that they're old enough to need it, but those are pretty rare. And so the way that we operate with it is we'll actually co-manage the surgery. And so who you really want doing cataract surgery is a doctor that's all they do.
Right.
Day in, day out, they're just doing cataract surgery. And we work with a team of great doctors that do that, and we'll do all the pre and post-op work. So the nice thing about that is you're not going back to the surgery center 100 times for all the routine visits that you need. we'll send records to the surgeon. You'll go there just for surgery day, and then the next day and several follow-ups after that, you can come to our office.
And is that a network that you're connected to of these great doctors that do the glaucoma and the cataracts and stuff, and LASIK? Do you offer that through your office?
Yep, and same thing with LASIK too. Yeah, we do co-management services with that, and it's the same type of deal. We'll do an exam, then we'll bring you back for a pre-op workup. We send those records to a surgeon. They have all the data that they need to basically do what they need to do.
Amazing.
And then we see you back, and you don't have to keep going back to the surgery center over and over again. Of course you can, and if you have a surgeon that you like working with, or that maybe somebody had recommended, or you had a family member or a friend who had a really good outcome, we can work with them and send records back and forth. So,
but you might be the one that diagnoses the issue.
Yeah.
But you still have those people that can do the work.
Correct.
That kind of work.
Yeah, and they usually want someone who can maybe diagnose the problem first, so that they can get a lot of the people who maybe don't have the problem from filling up their chair time, which is good for them, because then that keeps them in the surgery center where they're mostly needed. So, and
your body's the only one you got, and your eyes are the only ones you have. So it's funny because my wife wore glasses and contacts many years ago, and the bladeless LASIK was just coming into the field, and we were down in Florida at the time, and I didn't think I needed it. So I said, well, but I'm going to do commercials. I'm going to advertise for this company. So I said, but my wife has glasses and she would love to find out about this. Take her in. They're examining her. And somebody else in the office says, well, Bo, why don't you sit down and we'll check you out? I'm like, oh, I'm good. And all my life, I squinted my right eye because my mom told me I was blue-eyed and fair-haired. And so the sun made me sensitive to it. I sat down. My right eye was actually 2200. You know what that means? I don't even know what that means. But that's terrible.
That's like one step down from the big E on the chart. Yeah.
I know, right? But I always thought I closed my eye because of the bright sun or the bright light. That's what I lived with all my life. They said, no, you have an astigmatism. 2200, I think it was what it was. They did it, and I could feel my face, my eyelids and everything were opened up after the surgery was over. I'm like, oh my gosh, I've been missing all this, kind of like the grain in the wood. It was life-changing.
Yeah.
And I had no idea. But people, there's fear, there's misinformation. We hear that word a lot now, that people are just assume that, oh, I'm fine, because I really thought I was fine.
And also, the parameters or our ability to do various things is increasing all the time.
Technology.
So maybe someone said, an eye doctor told me that I couldn't wear contact lenses because of my astigmatism, or I couldn't have a refractive surgery because of X, Y, or Z. And that may have been true, a couple years ago even, but even today, we've got so many more procedures with bigger parameters that we can treat, and contact lenses continue to push the boundaries of what we can correct for all sorts of problems. And that's one of the things that keeps me going to work every day, is learning about the new technology and continuing to give more access to more people and better care for better vision and better quality of life.
It's exciting. It's so exciting in that field. And again, if anybody's ever had lost vision, blurred vision, how important it is, because it's like, oh my goodness, take my legs, take my arms, don't take my vision.
Yeah.
My goodness.
Yeah.
Give me an example of like just a profound story that you're telling somebody about what you do. What's the most rewarding thing that's happened? Or not the most, but a rewarding event. Somebody came in, they had this, and all of a sudden you got them their life back.
Sure. Well, there's several, we've talked a lot about the different contact lenses that you can wear, and we haven't even gotten into some of the more specialized hard contact lenses. People think, oh, those hard contact lenses are kind of a thing of the past.
Yeah,
they're all
they're
soft
not?
now. No, we still use them. Some folks wear them daily. Still they started wearing them 30 years ago, and they never stopped, which is one type of individual.
Right.
But the other thing that's amazing about hard contact lenses is they can actually solve all sorts of problems on the front of the eye as well. And so there was an individual who had very, very poor vision, and he had poor vision his whole life. And he'd kind of been told by different eye doctors, there's nothing we can do. These are the best glasses you can get. You just got this problem on the eye, and we're up against that. And I ended up fitting this individual with a really special hard contact lens called a scleral contact lens, which is a lot more comfortable than a standard hard contact lens, and it's a little bit bigger too. But the reason that it's special is it almost creates a new front of the eye for the patient.
Like the shape of it?
Exactly.
Wow.
So if there's an irregularity on the cornea, the front surface of the eye, or there's a medical problem that's caused it to be distorted or warped or anything like that, we can put this special almost retainer on the eye. And it's amazing what we can do to someone's vision. I mean, this was someone who was basically legally blind. We put this special contact lens on. It was completely covered by his insurance. And then all of a sudden it was like, poof, he could see again.
That's a good drive home from work for you, isn't it? When you get a
time.
result like that.
Yeah, and it really made me feel like, we're going above and beyond for this guy. You wouldn't be able to get this type of care everywhere. And
right.
Those are the sorts of things that, like you said, it keeps me coming to work every day, and it makes me feel good when I come home at night.
And you got a good woman to support you too.
Big time.
I'm married up too.
Yeah.
I also want to mention that Rockwood Eyecare also offers evening hours on Tuesdays and Wednesdays and weekend hours on Saturday afternoons. I think that's fantastic. I just found a dentist that does that, kind of odd hours, but people have odd lives. They have odd shifts and things.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's very accommodating.
And we really wanted to make sure that we were there for people with families, folks who are in school, with some of those evening hours. And then also, I haven't found a place in town that's open on a Saturday afternoon. So if you've got a kid and they play a sport in the morning, you could come get their eyes checked in the afternoon. It really caters to that busy lifestyle and families.
So you talked a lot about contacts. Do you also sell glasses?
We sure do.
Okay. And so when I walk in your door, will I see hundreds of styles of glasses?
That's the first thing you'll see. All 440 frames on the board. We've got Oakley, Ray-Ban, Dolce & Gabbana.
I see your Ray-Bans on your head.
Yeah. All the designer frames that people are looking for, we try to carry those as well.
That's great.
And we're really focused on the quality. We handpicked the lines that we felt like were really representative of the best in the eye care industry. And we stand behind all of those products, anything that needs a repair, we've got great warranty. And then the lenses as well, we only use the highest quality lenses and anti-reflective coatings.
And that technology's got to be changing so much too.
Yeah, and especially with no line bifocals or progressive edition lenses.
Yeah.
And that's where it's really just taken off. Folks who've maybe said, yeah, I tried those glasses without the line in them before and they just weren't for me.
Right.
Give me a shot at putting you in a new progressive lens. It's
really
amazing how different they are now.
I've got a buddy that's a little bit older than me, and he always wears cheater glasses on the end of his nose.
Yeah.
And always, I think he sleeps in them. I don't know. I got to ask his girlfriend, but he's always like he'll have dinner with you. His glasses are always sitting right there. I'm like, there's got to be a better way.
Oh yeah, there's a better way.
Talk to me about over-the-counter cheaters.
Sure.
Are they dangerous? Can they change your eyes in a bad way? I don't even. I mentioned earlier I'm on 1.75.
Yeah.
That's me diagnosing.
Sure.
I look here.
Well, the nice thing is you usually can't give yourself any kind of permanent damage, which is one of the reasons they sell them over the counter.
Okay.
Right? Or else if they were that dangerous, that you wouldn't be able to walk into a Walgreens and pick one out for yourself.
Or the Dollar Tree.
But there's a couple things to keep in mind. One is almost everybody's eyes are different between the two eyes. And over-the-counter cheaters are really designed to go on an eye with zero prescription, with zero difference between the two eyes.
Okay.
And just about everybody's got a small prescription, whether they've been corrected for it or not. So one of the things that I like to do during routine eye exams is basically flip in a lens that shows you your plus 1.75 cheaters, and then flip in another lens that shows you your custom tailored suit, right to the specifications of your eye and show you the difference.
1.86, whatever, or even more detailed than that?
Yeah, or if you've got just a little bit of distance correction that you were kind of like what you were alluding to, where you had, a problem in one eye and you didn't know about it.
Yeah.
Or if one eye actually needs a little bit more power than the other one does, then as soon as we balance that out and you can see that in your card, you say, okay, I kind of know what you're talking about now. Yeah. Okay. The other thing about going to, let's say, a progressive edition lens, a no-line bifocal as opposed to cheaters, is that you aren't constantly looking for them on your shirt or putting them on your head or losing, your 18 pair. You can just put something on and leave it there, and then you don't really have to worry about it. Now, that's usually a tough sell for someone who's never worn glasses before, but depending on how bothersome it is to you, or when you got your plus 175 and your plus 250 and your plus one for all your different problems, one pair of glasses can kind of replace all of those, which is nice too.
I'll tell you this. I have a neighbor. He's a pipe fitter by trade, but he will put 3 different cheaters on at the same time, kind of like some of these masks. People are wearing 3 and 4 masks at a time. He wears 3 or 4 cheaters to get what he needs, to be able to see him. Like, there's got to be a better way.
Yeah,
there is.
Yeah, there's really 3 different parts of your vision that we need to correct for. There's your arm's length, where people put a computer screen.
Yep.
There's your cell phone distance, where you've got to see something like that. And then there's everything beyond your arm. Those 3 differences are unique to every individual. And so when you see somebody with 18 pairs of cheaters on their head, it's because they're trying to get each focal point just right, but it never truly gets there because it's not custom. And also, in a progressive edition lens, we basically have infinite prescriptions depending on where your eye lands on the lens to be able to put just the right vision right where you need it.
I feel like I'm losing IQ points, but I'm gaining some back talking to you. No, you are really on your game. This is you seem really, really into what you're doing, and I love anybody that has a passion for what they do. And Dr. Jacques, you definitely have that.
Thank you.
Wildwood, Missouri. Go see him. Rockwood Eyecare online. It's rockwoodeyecare.com. Great website. I don't know how you got that. Anything else you want to mention about your practice, which is brand new, we wanted to mention, but you've been doing this 13 years. Anything you want to mention?
Yeah, just come see us. We've got tons of availability. If we don't take your insurance, we'll ask you which one it is so we can get on it.
Sure.
We're trying to become as accommodating as we can to everybody, and we've got openings now. So, and even in February, we've got openings for folks to come in and see us. And we'd love for you to even just stop by and take a look at our glasses that we've got. We've got lots of non-prescription sunglasses that, and you can keep your business in the community. You don't have to go out to some big establishment or anything like that.
More and more, we need to be doing more than that. And that's really a good point. Eureka is growing by leaps and bounds. This entire outer area, this outer ring of St. Louis is growing. Yep. So I wish you a ton of luck at your new business.
Thank you.
This is exciting. I think we'll see you on Shark Tank one day.
I hope so.
Not that that's the pinnacle, but you've got some really cool ideas, especially the emergency. It's kind of like vets. You don't want your dog to have an accident on a Sunday because you can't find a vet. Well, you can find it, but it's going to cost you.
Right.
But anyway, Dr. Peter Jacques, great guy. You got to go see him. Bring your whole family. And as we just learned, you should have your eyes checked at least minimum once a year.
That's what I would say.
Okay. Thanks for joining us on Chamber Chatter here.
Thank you,
for the Eureka Chamber of Commerce. And really, a lot of good luck to you, man.
Thank you very much. Look forward to seeing you all.
Thanks for listening to the Eureka Chamber Chatter podcast. For more information about the Eureka Chamber of Commerce, please visit eurekachamber.org. Follow the Chamber's Instagram and Facebook page. We encourage you to share this podcast on your social media platforms to spread the word about the great city of Eureka, Missouri, USA. Join us on the next Eureka Chamber Chatter podcast.